listening to your brain on air. The program will begin shortly. Enjoy.
Þú ert að hlusta á heilan þinn í beinni. Dagskráin hefst innan skamms. Njóttu.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Your Brain on Air. I am your host, Ollie Vogt Larson. And folks, happy Thursday, is it? Goddamn. Happy Thursday. We're going to start with a very fun, kind of controversial topic. The 19th Amendment. Guys, did we go too far? I've met one too many ladies who've made me debate if this was a good idea or not. I'm just going to say it. Maybe letting non-landowners in general vote was taking things too far. Regardless of gender, women or men, if you don't own property, I don't know that I want you voting. Jacksonian democracy? Maybe the common man, regardless of gender, is not well suited for running their society. I mean, folks, I just want to be honest. How much better have things gotten now that we have full voter equality? Even if you are, into the illegal side of things, even if you're like, well, it's changed up the laws, but a lot more people have rights, whatever. Even if you're illegal, you can vote in state and local elections. Let's make it very clear. So maybe it's time we straighten up these laws a little bit. Ladies, maybe just for school boards, shit like that. You can do maybe mayor. Mayor would be a really fun one to vote in. Young men who don't have homes, sorry guys, until you're the head of a household, maybe we just need to hang back on the voters' rights. It's clear that the younger generation of men, they're ready to legalize gambling nationwide. They're ready to mandate OnlyFans subscriptions. It's disgusting, quite frankly, what the newer gen is up to. I'm not judging. I understand every generation has their version of Sodom and Gomorrah, but I'm worried that with the interconnected world, with the technology we live with these days, and with the way that it's going to go even further, you know what I mean? We're living in an age where people are probably going to be interlacing their DNA with technology. We're living in an age where people are going to be integrating these systems of technology within their brains. There's people that we're working on chips that are going to help people with debilitating conditions learn how to walk again. This is beautiful. This is like in some ways it's beautiful, but admittedly that is exactly the technocratic lie. That's the one that they want you, because do you guys know what the deal is? The deal is it's shake the hands with the devil. What we're going to do is we're going to give your body to the silicon gods. You are going to become silicon. Your consciousness will become this technology thing, and you will merge with the greater AI system. That's the deal. You know what I mean? Eventually, when this chip is literally in your brain, if it's able to help you walk again, there's absolutely a way that they're implanting memories. They're implanting political opinions that you don't know about. Can you imagine the ad runs that they're going to have on those brain chips? It's going to be ridiculous. You're going to be washing dishes and get an ad for Dawn dish soap. It's fucking ridiculous. You're going to see the ducks walk across your, your countertop. And then it's going to be like schizophrenia. It's going to be like, you're going to see out of the corner of your eye an ad or like a thing saying you need to do a software update, which means that you have to take like a 10-hour nap or something like that. Like, because think about it. Are you going to be able to even function in the time where it needs to, have an update? This is a scary future we're looking at. I don't think that the world has gotten significantly better ever since we have equalized voting rights. I think landowners are the only ones that should be allowed, you know what I mean? And maybe we got to think about the 19th. Admittedly, I'm just going to say it, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate the commitment and the contributions that women have given to us. They've literally given us all people. Let's make this very clear. That means they got a lot on their plate. You know what I mean? If you guys are making all the people, you know what I mean? That's a lot of work. That takes a lot of your time. Wouldn't you want someone else to be making the hard choices? Exactly. Ladies and gentlemen, Handmaid's Tale, I mean, quality-wise, it's the production value. Have you watched it yourself? I've watched I think it was up to season 3-ish. I'm not going to give spoilers. I'm not going to do any of that bullshit because, quite frankly, it's a lot. It's a show that I think is better suited for your own watching experience. Admittedly, I agree with Shane Gillis on this point. I was maybe an episode or two in, and I was already on the side of the huge dictatorship. I was like, yeah, when they go in the flashbacks and all these women are just smoking weed, they're like wanting to get abortions and shit like that. It's like okay, yeah, day one I'm already kind of rooting for the dictatorship to take over, because they act like witches. They make them act like pagans in the beginning of the show and whatnot. It's spooky, because it's like not all women act like that. Not all women. Some women are actually like they show up to work on time. They're not like spun out geeks, but they made women look like they got a taste of freedom and then just started all acting like the Beatles when they were making Sgt. Pepper's. That's not what women act like when they get freedom. It's a weird angle. It's kind of weirdly sexist in a way. The show has overtones of kind of overplaying its hand to the point of almost reversing the point of anti-sexism that it's trying to make. And the acting's great. I love the Scientologist who's the star of it. What's her name? It's not Amanda Seyfried. Amanda Seyfried is a different girl with eyes that is very, she's very just, you see her and she stands out. Amanda Seyfried, she was in Mamma Mia, all that shit. But Elizabeth Moss, yes, she is the Scientologist. She plays, what's it called? Literally the star of the show. Uffred, yes, whatever. Yeah. I'm just gonna say it, ladies and gentlemen. It's an okay show. It's mid-tier. It's over-dramatized when people are sharing clips of it on Facebook and they're like, this is what now is like. It's like, oh my god. You're overplaying your hand a little bit. Maybe watch a few of our episodes where we've covered Iranian women, and you'll get the sense that we are not quite to the point of hymen checks in order to, get certain jobs and things like that. Maybe we're not to the point of absolute theocratic dictatorship ready to oppress all women. I feel like that's a fun image that we play into, especially as liberal-minded people. You always want to feel like you're kissing your three fingers and going... And it's just like, that's the appeal of being a leftist-leaning person, is you always feel like a revolutionary. You always feel like you're quoting books that other people don't know about. I know the legend of Heracles or whatever. I know where the term Pisces comes from. The star sign, it originally started off as a blah, 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 blah. Like, there's people that just, that appeals naturally to a lot of people. And the left-leaning crowd, I love them so much, but we have to be really honest. It's a lot of people who have like a little Play-Doh bust on their desk. Like, it's a lot of people who are like, I go to this one place. It's a ramen place downtown. And it is, quite frankly, it's gluten-free. And the broth, it's microbiotic, and it's really good for you. It's people that are just, they're a little more, they are conscious of what they're conscious of. They're not conscious, though, they're definitely not conscious of what they're not conscious of. And sometimes they can be weirdly less open to new information than conservatives. And I'm saying this out of love, because we have to criticize what we love in order for it to get better. This is truth. This is honesty. Every parent knows this. Every parent knows this. You have to criticize in order for your child to get any better. And the child that we're talking about here is our collective left, ladies and gentlemen. We have to cool it on the ego. We have to cool it on the I have the information. Anybody who brings me anything that's new, anybody who brings me anything that is an independent study, it's not signed off on by the World Health Organization. What do you mean? What are you talking about? The Islamic regime oppresses women. Are you saying that? Are you Islamophobic? No, there is no. Actually, they do not have forced child marriages in other parts of the world. Actually, if we invite the rest of the world and if we treat every other country like they are just like us and have the same education and same influence, we are good people if we let all these people in. And if you question even for a second that Islam for any way or in any reason oppresses women, I'm gonna kill myself and you. That is the way that they will treat you if you approach them with new information. It's unfortunate, but it is true. They don't want to talk about the tunnels underneath the Second Temple. They don't want to talk about a lot of what they will call out there conspiracy theories. They don't want to talk about the fact that shit's going down in Antarctica. They don't want to talk about anything that is a little too outside of the Harvard-leaning influence. You know what I'm talking about? Where it's like, this was stamped on by Fauci, who was at one point the highest paid government employee in what's it called? In the United States at that time. It was impressive. What a record that gentleman had. He was simultaneously one of the most loved and hated individuals, like, for a moment in history. Does anybody else remember the Fauci era? I was, not a young jit. I was in high school, but it was still a time. You know what I mean? We all wore the masks. I remember I was in band class, and my dorky ass teacher, he was all within the guidelines. And no, I'm joking. He was actually a lot suaver than what I'm giving him credit for. But he stands up on the podium and he goes, guys, we're having some trouble here. So he adjusts his mask and shit, and then we give him shit. It's like, don't touch your mask, and then it's like, all right. He goes, we're gonna have to wear these, and then he pulls up these they're cloth covers with our school's logo, and they're meant to fit over the front of your trumpet, over your baritone sax, anything, any horned instrument, or like a whatever. I was in jazz and wind ensemble, all of those. If you had like a French horn or whatever, you had to like put your hand in it weird differently now because, well, actually, I don't think that they got one. I'm pretty sure that they just put their hand in it because that covers up the coronavirus, apparently. We got these new masks where they were a flap over another mask underneath, but this underneath mask had a hole cut out so that you could put your thing, you could put your, what's it called? Your thing. I sound fucking gay as shit right now. So that you could put your, goddamn it, I gotta talk better, your trumpet mouthpiece or whatever you were playing to your mouth. That is the purpose that those masks served. It was hilarious. It was a fun time to be alive. Everybody remembers that time when it was like Spanish flu. Everybody was treating it like this thing where it was like people were dying. People were legit dying. Not as many as maybe we were thinking. Maybe people who were getting sun were doing good. Maybe people who were taking care of their immune systems. Yes, maybe smokers, maybe the immunodeficient, maybe some elderly people should have stayed home, but like the lockdowns were excessive, especially given the fact that they allowed BLM to riot around those same exact times where it was called noble to protest for some reason, but it was criticized deeply if you went to church or something like that. I'm just being factually accurate, ladies and gentlemen. Minnesota had a mandate at one point that it was like, we're going to limit your church services. You cannot go out at one point because there's too much COVID in your area. And but for some odd reason, protests were left off of these large gathering spaces or whatever they labeled them as. I can actually find the report. I'll see if I can find it. I'll throw it in the description if I can. And it was a rough time to be alive. A lot of people were just running by fear. And I remember the one escapes that most people had were just taking drives. That's one of my favorite things that I remember doing. I would ride past my friends' houses. I'd just look at their houses and like wonder what are they doing now? What are they doing during this terrifying time to be alive? You drive through Midtown. I was driving down Washington Avenue, this beautiful area, and all the businesses shuttered. It was literally like 28 days later, like you see the newspaper fly down the road. It was a terrifying time to be alive. It was not in the sense where I thought that we were never going to recover. I mean, some of us did. Some of us were really scared that this could be it. We were like, this is another plague. This is another whatever. This could be out to get us all. And this could be wraps for humanity. Or at one point we were getting together like a go bag. We were getting together like stuff just in case we had to hit the road. You know what I mean? Just in case. And you know what? It's good. It's better to be prepared than to not be. You know what I mean? I was like talking with my sister. It's like, get a backpack together. And she was like, okay. And then we threw that in the back of my car. And then every time after that, we would just roll around in the car. And then we'd be like, just in case, we got that bag in the back. And then we would be like, well, we told our parents to have a rendezvous point, and it was always at like a train station or some shit. It was a good time to be alive. You were really nervous. It was very Walking Dead. It was 2020, so it was getting out of the 2010s zombie obsession, but the apocalyptic feeling was incredible then. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm done having fun reminiscing with the COVID era. I'm done criticizing voting rights for, quite frankly, everybody. I don't think that most people should have voting rights based on our latest behavior, ladies and gentlemen. Gentlemen, just as guilty. Get your gambling behavior in order. Get your drinking in order. All this bullshit. You know what I mean? Let's just handle this. Let's just get this in order. All right, let's cover our first story. Why not? TSA wait times are the highest in history. This is a fun time to be alive. Maybe not COVID fun time to be alive, but it is a fun time. Let's begin. Go. Wait times are the highest in history at the TSA as 3,100 officers call out sick nationwide. There's some asshole speeding outside of my house. What are you doing? I'm in the middle of recording, straight up. This is rude. Airports across the country have hit a grim milestone this week, ladies and gentlemen. The Transportation Security Administration is reporting the longest security wait times in its 24-year history. I forgot the TSA has only existed for 24 years. Isn't that crazy? I mean, I've only been alive for 20, coming up on 23 this year. And I don't remember a time where the TSA was not around, you know what I mean? And I'm sure that there's some people out there that went to the airport and they remember the golden age of flight. I'm sure that there's some people that remember when you could smoke on a plane. God almighty, I hope I can fly private one day so I can do that. I hope that I make the cabinet smoky and that we crash into a mountain because of how much I'm smoking, ladies and gentlemen. That's my plan. It's probably how I'm going to go out. That's nerve-wracking. I'm only going to fly in helicopters from now on. Damn it, I don't want to go out like Kobe. With the partial government shutdown now stretching into its 6th week, more than 3,100 TSA officers, roughly 11% of the workforce, is called out sick Tuesday alone. God damn. I mean, there has been a flu lately at major hubs like John F. Kennedy International and Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson. The call-out rate has spiked to nearly 40%. Holy shit. Leaving passengers stranded in security lines that are stretching past the 4-hour mark. If you've got a flight at 8, you better get there at 12. Yeah, 12 the 2 days before, because otherwise, and I understand you're thinking, what am I going to do for food? What am I going to do about my family? What am I going to do about anything? You're going you're going to the terminal and you are going to go to the area where they serve Panda Express. You're going to live off of you're going to have the worst stomach issues you've had in a long time. You are probably going to, have issues on the plane. You're gonna need an Alka-Seltzer tablet. It's gonna be really bad. But because the last 2 days you've been living in the airport terminal, sleeping on furniture, sleeping on the furniture that is designed to be anti-homeless people, where there's always an armrest in the middle. So your back hurts, your neck hurts, you don't feel okay. But you're gonna have to do this because the TSA officers, they are not out here to save you. They're not coming back. 40%, that is ridiculous. The human cost of the budget stalemate was on full display Wednesday during the heated House Homeland Security Committee hearing. A TSA officer from Philadelphia International Airport delivered a blunt message to lawmakers, pleading for an end to the political games that have left 50,000 screeners working without pay. Quote, "Do your job," the officer told Congress. "Open DHS, get us paid." Great message. Acting TSA Administrator Ha Ngai Yen McNeil, I hope that I got this name right, testified that that the situation has become an unprecedented and unacceptable one, noting that officers are now selling blood and plasma or sleeping in their cars just to afford the gas to get to work. I gotta say it, if you're one of these TSA people out here sleeping in your goddamn car for people, you deserve a prize. They said Bill Maher is getting the Mark Twain prize, and admittedly, he's given some to the comedic landscape, and I'm grateful to it. You know what I mean? He's given more so religious critiques. He's given more so philosophy and whatnot. It's a very complex, interesting legacy, one that I think kind of matches Mark Twain's. But if you're a TSA officer, can we just invent a new category? Who's the most famous TSA agent in history? Who is the most famous TSA agent in history? I need to know this because we're going to name it after them. Gerardo Hernandez, Gerardo Hernandez, is widely recognized as the most famous TSA officer in history, known for his ultimate sacrifice as the first TSA agent killed in the line of duty during the 2013 Los Angeles International Airport shooting. Wow. They have Gerardo, I think it's Gerardo. God, I better be saying it right, otherwise I'm an absolute piece of shit. They have Gerardo Hernandez Line of Duty Award. See, they already have it. We're just doing that. We're going to do that, ladies and gentlemen. We should honor every single one of them. We should give them a medal they can wear. That would be perfect. That would be amazing. And then maybe actually that would encourage them for when they start getting checks again. Maybe then you won't have to take your shoes off or something. Because honestly, they're probably not going to want to have to deal with that after all this bullshit. They're just going to be like, fuck it. If you have a shoe bomb, go for it. You know what? If you're a TSA agent, you have been worked to the bone lately. You understand exactly what that means. So, am I wrong? Am I wrong that you're going to be letting a few things slide when you get back to work? Am I wrong about that, ladies and gentlemen? I mean, obviously, catch people if you can. You know what I mean? But I think that we're approaching a little bit of a 90s vibe again, where it's a little bit more along the lines of, is that a briefcase? And you go, yeah. And you go, is there anything dangerous in there? And they go, I don't think so. And then they go, all right, you're good. I think we're approaching that line of duty again. And I hope so. I think that'd be better for the country, quite frankly. I think we need airplanes that you can pay for, maybe like a $20 fee, that allow you to smoke again. I'm just putting out ideas here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm encouraging a new era of libertarian freedoms. I think this would just be a fun idea. The strain on the system has reached a critical breaking point, with over 480 officers resigning since the shutdown began on February 14th. Ooh, the day of love. While the administration has deployed ICE agents to help manage lines and exits, aviation experts warn that these agents cannot operate the specialized screening machinery, meaning that the bottleneck at the X-ray machines is not going to go away anytime soon, as the agency warns that it may have to close smaller airports to consolidate staff. Travelers are being urged to arrive at least 5 hours early at the minimum to prepare for the level of the terminal pandemonium that shows no sign of clearing before the weekend. Just so you don't have to take only my word for it, let's hear a little bit from an official news source.
We begin tonight with the worsening scene at several airports across the U.S. The TSA now reporting the longest airport wait times in history. Whew. This is now day 40 of this shutdown. Thousands of TSA officers not getting paid. Tonight, the new images coming in from some of America's busiest airports, from New York to Atlanta to Houston.
This is not good.
Travelers snaking through terminals, some up and down floors, inside then outside the terminal and back. Tonight, some of those TSA workers now relying on food banks, some giving blood.
How good does this make the Trump administration look right now? How great does... I understand many people are going to go, you can't blame him directly for this. Ladies and gentlemen, the what's it called? The guff, the buck. I'm retarded. The buck stops with the president. If you want to blame Afghanistan on the Biden administration, if you want to blame the failures of all of that era and that time on the Biden administration, you want to blame it on him. Trump needs to carry the legacy of the fuck ups. That's how the office works. That's why Obama will always be remembered, and I will always remember him for that teenager that he killed. You know what I mean, with a drone strike. I think that it's not. And by the way, it's not just him. He was not the only teenager killed with a drone strike. He was just one that was a university student, I believe. I can't even remember the exact details because he's killed so many. Ladies and gentlemen, let's just be honest. Presidents, they've killed people. They've ordered strikes on people that have sometimes been innocent, and it's unfortunate. It's regrettable, but we have to remember people for who they are, and this is going to be a stain on, this is going to be a stain on whoever runs in 2028, whether it's Vance or Rubio.
Just to get paid, just to put food on the table. And what are lawmakers doing to solve this, with just days before Washington leaves for Easter break? Johnson leading us off tonight. Tonight, more than 40 days.
Can you imagine being a congressman coloring eggs with your grandkids? Your granddaughter, grandson look at you. They're like, hey, we're we're paying a little bit of attention to what's been going on. You know, we have the news on the Wii, you know what I mean, on the Wii U, where you can like choose the news tab and it'll read you off. Like, I remember I saw on TikTok someone found out about the Charlie Kirk assassination through their Wii, and that was what a way to find out. But they pay attention a little bit to the news and they go, hey, Grandpa Graham or whatever, Lindsay, what are we doing about the TSA agents getting paid? And then you just have to look at your grandkids and you just have to go, kids, color the damn eggs. I don't come here to be harassed or harangued or nagged. I come here so I can have a break from a bunch of people who, would kill me if they had the opportunity to come back to a state where people will kill me eventually when they see me at like a Walgreens one day. I can't help it. When people see me without the security, I stand no chance. I'm like 5'2", you know what I mean? And I'm 96 years old. So like, can we just color the goddamn eggs and not focus on my inevitable defeat?
Into the partial government shutdown, and the TSA says millions of travelers are now experiencing the worst airport security lines ever.
We are being forced to consolidate lanes and may have to close smaller airports if we do not have enough officers.
The sustained backlog comes amid the spring break travel crush. Airlines expecting to fly 2.8 million passengers every day through April 30th. The TSA says more than 3,100 officers called out sick yesterday nationwide. Many of those officers say they have to find other ways to make money. About 40% of the workforce at both of Houston's airports.
That's 100% spring break loads going through the airport being processed through less than 50% of our TSA lanes.
Oof.
That is not sustainable.
Travelers waiting more than 3 hours to get through security. The long snaking lines even stretching outside the terminals.
You have to go down to the 3rd floor, up to the 2nd floor, outside, back inside. And if you're in the line, it's pretty bad.
Our Christian Cordero is there.
Here at Houston's Bush Intercontinental Airport, they have seen record TSA call-out numbers over the past week. They usually have 8 security checkpoints. Today, they're down to 2.
And from New York to Atlanta to New Orleans, more than 30% of TSA officers not reporting to work yesterday. The biggest impact during those peak travel times.
We were here yesterday, and our flight left at 8:05. We got here at 3:30. We missed our flight.
Oof.
After being in line for like 4 hours.
Tonight, about 50,000 TSA officers have gone nearly a month without pay. For some, this is their second government shutdown since October.
Some are sleeping in their cars, selling their blood and plasma, and taking on second jobs to make ends meet.
TSA officer Taylor Desert in Indianapolis says she's now forced to rely on her local food bank.
It's extremely awkward. I never thought I would be in a position to where working for the federal government that I would need to...
You're working in Indianapolis. What do you expect? I mean, it's a little bit of a dead zone.
Go to a food bank.
And now hundreds of ICE agents who are still getting paid deployed to at least 14 different airports to assist with crowd management. But this TSA employee says those...
I love how they all walk around the same way. They all got their hands folded over their vests, so they just look like little monks walking down the lanes. They look like the boss, you know what I mean?
Agents are seemingly unable to help speed up the lines.
I would hate to call out another agency, but what I'm getting from some of the officers is that they're just in the way.
In Washington, mounting pressure for senators to reach a deal before Friday's scheduled 2-week recess and another missed paycheck for those government workers. Today, frustration boiling over.
They keep asking for things. We give them what they want, and then they say no.
Republicans offering to fully fund all DHS agencies except immigration enforcement. But Democrats again insisting on specific reforms to immigration operations.
Give up.
Barring ICE agents from wearing masks and requiring warrants before they can enter private homes.
Not going to happen.
How long Republicans are going to obstruct and block this really simple solution. Pay TSA, pay FEMA.
And David, we've seen those ICE agents going to more airports across the country. Again, they are still getting paid while TSA officers are not. And now President Trump says he may have to call up the National Guard for more help. I've been saying this repeatedly. This is not a good hill for the Democratic Party to die on because it makes you look incompassionate. Because let's be really, really honest here. You are not going to get any meaningful reform on the front of the immigration issue
anytime soon. So it's a dumb issue to continue pushing on. I'm sorry, it's Trump's baby, and you're not going to kill it in the cradle. You know what I mean? He's going to grow up to be 6'8", and his name's going to be Barron, and he's going to travel through time. Barron Trump, the time traveler. Look it up. It's truth. It's truth, and it was predicted back in, when was this? You look it up. That's the most important thing. It's going to grow up to be Barron Trump. This is his baby. You cannot kill the immigration issue. It is not going to happen. And he's not even doing that much. He's not even deporting as many as Obama. He's not deporting as many as George Bush. Most of Obama's numbers are overrepresented, by the way, by turnaways, which don't technically count. So, let's just be really, really honest. He's not hitting the numbers that he promised anybody, and he's also not hitting the numbers of previous administrations. So give up. I know that it looks ugly. I know that it makes you feel bad, but it's not a hill worth dying on. He's really not doing nearly as much damage. He's doing damage to our image. He's doing damage to certain other issues. But I'm just going to be really honest with you. He's not willing to budge on it. So it's not one that we should be willing to die on, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to leave it at that. I think that is a good coverage. That's good coverage of the TSA issue, quite frankly. And we have another one to talk about. We have another major story to cover, that Iran has rejected the peace proposal, the 15-point plan. Let's cover it. That sucks. The diplomatic off-ramp that we were talking about yesterday. The Iran plan that's like 15 points that Trump threw at them. He said, hey, this is the best we got. You know, it's the best that we can give you that is going to promise you an end to the conflict in the Middle East. Well, we've hit a major roadblock this morning. Tehran officially rejected the 15-point proposal. That sucks. From the Trump administration, delivered via Pakistani intermediaries, apparently, the U.S. plan called for a total dismantling of Iran's nuclear program, strict limits on its ballistic missile range, and the immediate unconditional reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. While President Trump initially expressed optimism on social media, claiming that the two sides were having very productive conversations, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, whatever you want to call him, dismissed those claims as psychological warfare, stating bluntly that Iran has no intention of negotiating under the threat of obliteration. I mean, it's a good thing to actually bring up in a conversation, is that we could obliterate you. Unfortunately, the country of Persia, you know what I mean? The Persian people, it's not massive. You put it on a globe, it's a little bit around the size of the Saudi Arabian peninsula, not peninsula, but the country of Saudi Arabia. It's maybe a little bit smaller. But let's be really honest, it wouldn't be hard for the massive campaign of missiles we have to make the entirety of the nation disappear, unfortunately. Iran's military, instead of accepting the American terms, the command has countered with 5 non-negotiable conditions of its own. These include a permanent halt of all U.S. and Israel aggression and assassinations. I don't know that you can ever get Israel to agree to that. Formal recognition of Iran's sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz. I don't know that that's going to happen. And most controversially, billions of dollars in war reparations for the damage caused by the recent airstrikes. All right, this is the moment where they're becoming a new welfare state. They're trying to make it our problem. I'm sorry. I'm more willing to negotiate with the rubble, because I feel as though that one is less, that option is less willing to take my tax dollars. I know that the military campaign is going to cost a lot of our tax dollars. It doesn't matter. We'll figure it out. A spokesperson for the Revolutionary Guard taunted the White House on state television today, asking if the United States has reached a stage of negotiating with itself, and reinforcing that Tehran will decide when the war ends, not Washington. Well, how about Tehran, instead of them being the ones who decide it, Tehran goes away? Would that also work? I mean, I'm just throwing out an idea. The rejection comes at a perilous moment as the Pentagon confirmed the deployment of thousands of additional troops from the 82nd Airborne Division to the region, while the president has extended his original 48-hour ultimatum to strike Iran's power grid by an additional 5 days to allow for continued discussion. Then it's not worth issuing any time limit, because you're just going to extend it. That's stupid. All right, whatever. I just think that he should have honestly taken out the power grid. That would have been a better move. You know what I mean? Stick by what you say. The rhetoric on both sides is reaching a fever pitch. Do what you say. I want you to make promises and keep them. Global oil prices also are swinging wildly. With every headline, the Strait of Hormuz remaining a virtual no-go zone, the window for diplomatic resolution appears to be closing, leaving the international community bracing for what many fear could be the most destructive phase of the war yet. Let's cover NBC News' coverage, because you need some other news source besides me.
Across the Middle East, amid new attacks in Kuwait, Iraq, and Israel, Iran has rejected the latest U.S. peace plan, according to Iranian state television. Have these talks hit a dead end?
They have not. Talks continue. They are productive.
Late today, Iran's foreign minister claimed there were no official talks. Still, NBC News has learned the Trump administration sent Iranian officials a 15-point plan to end the war through Pakistani intermediaries, according to two regional sources and a U.S. official.
They're not going to have a nuclear weapon. That's number one. That's number 1, 2, and 3.
Today, Iranian state television, citing an unnamed senior official, said Iran had responded negatively to the proposal and detailed 5 demands to end the war, including a halt to aggression and assassinations by the U.S. and Israel, plus complete control over the Strait of Hormuz. The White House warning Iran would be hit harder than before if there's no deal.
President Trump does not bluff, and he is prepared to unleash hell. Iran should not miscalculate again.
Also, after previously rescheduling his Beijing meeting with China's President Xi Jinping, President Trump today announcing a new date, May 14th and 15th. The White House was pressed on whether that's a signal for when the war might end.
Again, as I've said, we've always estimated approximately 4 to 6 weeks, so you could do the math on that.
As he considers his next move, 3 current and a former U.S. official tell him...
They have not always estimated 4 to 6 weeks. They said it would be a brief campaign.
News that the military now compiles a daily highlight reel for the president that shows a video montage of the most successful strikes on Iranian targets over the previous 48 hours. The officials say he's also updated about the war through conversations with top military and intelligence
I'm sure he listens.
All right, Gabe joins us now live. Gabe, I know you have some new reporting just in about Iran reacting to all of this.
Yes, Tom, the Iranian foreign minister is now acknowledging Iran has received messages from the U.S. through intermediaries, but that he does not consider that a formal negotiation. Meanwhile, tomorrow, here at the White House, President Trump is set to hold his second cabinet meeting of the year.
Nice. Well, if it's only his second one, good for him. Ladies and gentlemen, let's cover the rapid fire section of today's headlines. We got a lot that we could cover in relation to the Iranian war, and that's probably what we're going to start with. For example, the G7 summit, if you're unfamiliar, the world leaders meeting in France, they normally just discuss the happenings, you know what I mean? It's unusually divided among them, believe it or not. So, what do we have essentially happening? They're talking about our war with Israel and Iran, not with Israel and Iran, but including Israel and Iran. And Washington's also shifting stance towards Russia. Generally, they're not very happy about. There's a kind of a breakdown in the Western unity that we've always kind of relied on right now. There's a lot. They're refusing to issue a joint statement right now. That is pretty severe. That is, it's not unprecedented. It's just exceedingly rare. It's also, it's intensifying the threat to global oil supplies. Obviously, oil prices are surging. There's people in Asia that we've covered and whatnot that are having rolling blackouts. Several European leaders are openly criticizing or distancing themselves from the Iranian conflict, emphasizing that it's not NATO's responsibility. They really, really want to keep their hands away from it. I can totally understand not wanting to be remotely involved with it. It's a messy one to kind of throw your hat into. I think one of the things that we are going to recognize and learn about in the new era is mimetic warfare. One thing that's a lot of people have been talking about is why are the Epstein memes everywhere? You go on Instagram, the Epstein memes, the Kirk memes, George Droid memes. Admittedly, some of them are decently funny. But what we're talking about here is the White House. I feel as though there is a level of mimetic warfare that, and this is not my feeling alone. This is kind of just proven by a lot. You go on their page, it is memes referencing video games. It is like teasing alien file release drops. It's bizarre. It's very unusual. It's not like the Biden administration when they were just posting the Brandon memes where he has like eyes that are red or whatever. It's a different mood. It's a different atmosphere. Here, I'm going to just go ahead and play you this piece about the meme machine at the White House.
Spend any time on the internet and you've probably seen it. The White House account posting completely out there memes. And no administration has done this more aggressively than Trump's. Memes aren't just part of the strategy, they are the strategy, especially since the US and Israel attacked Iran on February 28th. The goal is simple, make you stop scrolling and then look again. And it's working. Some people are horrified, calling it embarrassing, disgusting, while others comment, whoever runs this page deserves a raise. Behind it all is a small, mostly anonymous group inside the White House. Those I spoke to told me they throw out ideas, debate them quickly, make the post, and get it live. Because in their words, the job is to create scroll-stopping content in a world where people see thousands of posts a day. Since the US and Israel struck Iran, they've leaned even harder into this strategy, posting clips that mix real military footage with video games like Call of Duty. Not surprisingly, there are many critics who say this strategy goes too far. Former astronaut Scott Kelly called one post disgusting, saying
Oh, like anybody cares about what Scott Kelly has to think.
American lives are being treated like a joke. The White House disagrees. They say this strategy is exactly why their message is breaking through, and why their critics keep taking the bait. I spoke to current and former members of the team behind it all. You can read the full story in the Free Press at the...
Go for it, Free Press, ladies and gentlemen. This is great. Cuba, they're suffering madly from this. If you're not aware, the Venezuelan oil getting cut off was really, really bad for them. And the oil crisis in the Strait of Hormuz is only getting worse. I mean, admittedly, their oil that they were relying on from external areas was not nearly as dependent on the Strait of Hormuz. However, it's not helping their situation. And apparently, American influencers, they are heading down to Cuba to show how things are going pretty decent. They're showing, I think it was Hassan Abi, is that his name? Yes. Yes, Hassan Abi, he is a progressive streamer, Hassan Piker. He's facing significant online backlash following a March 2026 visit to Cuba as part of a humanitarian aid of a flotilla. Critics accused him of downplaying the country's energy crisis. Yeah, he went to this, what's it called? I think that he was dancing and shit. Hold on, I gotta see this video. Yes, I gotta see, oh my goodness. It doesn't look like he's very, it looks like he's celebrating how communism has made the island a flourishing paradise, actually. It seems as though he's having a pretty decent time there. But he wasn't the only influencer to go there. Well, here's a Cuban explaining a little bit about why Cuba is inviting these fellas over here.
As a Cuban, I can tell you that the organizers of the American influencer convoy to Cuba either don't know what they're supporting or they just don't care. And I'm going to give you 3 reasons why. Number 1, this is being sold as humanitarian aid, but if it was purely humanitarian aid, why not just send the aid? Instead, you have influencers with millions of followers traveling to Cuba to do what Cubans cannot do freely, which is speak about the government without getting arrested. They are staying in 5-star hotels owned by the government using the resources that everyday Cubans don't have. Cuban independent journalist Joanny Sanchez, who lives on the island, said they claim they want to break the energy blockade, yet they spent in one meeting the electricity that could light several buildings in my neighborhood, which are in darkness. Number 2, there's no clear communication about where this aid is actually going. They're saying they're partnering with hospitals and healthcare facilities, but which ones and where on the island? The only information available is that they partnered with the Cuban Institute of Friendship with the Peoples to distribute the aid, but that's an organization historically used to promote state propaganda. Number 3, they're riding around in buses using gas Cubans don't have, singing songs like Guantanamera, which was made popular by Celia Cruz, which Celia Cruz was in exile. She wasn't even allowed to return to the island to bury her own mother. And in all of her career, Celia Cruz spoke about freeing Cuba from communism, the same communism that they're over there holding signs up defending. When Cubans on the island protest, they chant libertad, freedom, not from the US, but from their own oppressive regime. Influencers on the island continue to risk their lives by posting videos online saying down with communism, down with the Cuban government, freedom for political prisoners, and freedom for Cuba from communism. The Cuban diaspora, as well as the Cubans on the island, want the Cuban government held responsible for all the suffering they have caused for 67 years. So when the influencer convoy claims to stand in solidarity, but only goes to Cuba to blame the US for Cuba's failures, Cubans don't see that as solidarity for the Cuban people. They see that as solidarity with the government that is responsible for 67 years of oppression of the Cuban people.
Crazy. I mean, Cuba has never been a paradise. I met a Cuban woman only once in my life, and she had nothing good to say about it. She said, yeah, it reeked of shit. There was, rubble everywhere. That's exactly why I chose to come here. I was sick of being poor. My mother, she died there. She didn't really have anything else to her name. So she was like, fuck it, I'm going to make a new life. And she floated around South Florida for a while. And then she found herself eventually, in the Midwest. And she was like, actually, I kind of like a dialed in, whatever kind of lifestyle. I like living day to day. I don't mind the grind. You know what I mean? I was taught to work hard. I was taught to appreciate the freedoms that were going to be granted to you in another place. You know what I mean? And I will always cherish that experience because it gave me a little bit of a mind about the idea that communism in many forms, you can give it. You can cherish it in your own mind. You can have a book about it. You can go like, well, if it was tried authentically and if people didn't have evil in their hearts, then it would work. Well, people will always have a tinge of evil in their hearts, unfortunately. And you will need a system that can deal with that and is not going to rely on perfect people, which unfortunately communism relies on perfect people performing in it. It's just a little bit of an unrecognized fault from what I've seen. Anyways, let's cover another thing. A quadruple amputee cornhole player has been arrested for murder. Dayton Weber, a professional cornhole player and quadruple amputee, has been arrested on murder charges for the shooting death of a Maryland man. CBS News' Chanel Call has more. Interesting. Let's hear it.
Welcome back. And now to a very
quadruple amputee.
Unusual murder investigation in Maryland, where the suspect is a quadruple amputee and he's one of the top professional cornhole players in America.
Oh my God.
Correspondent Chanel Cole joins us now with more. And Chanel, what more can you tell us about this case?
So by quadruple amputee, they mean he's cut at the kneecap on both legs. He's got no legs below that, and he's got no arms beyond like a little bit past his elbow.
Well, look, Mugo, this is a bizarre and disturbing story. The center of this story is someone who would be considered to be an inspiration up until now. 27-year-old Dayton Weber. This is someone who is a quadruple amputee and also a star cornhole player. He is a professional cornhole player who's won multiple tournaments before, but now police, Mugo, believe that he is also a murderer. So how did this happen? Well, police say that Weber was out with a couple of friends. He had 3 people in his vehicle. He was driving his Tesla SUV in La Plata, Maryland on Sunday night when this happened. They say that someone who was in the vehicle told them that things got heated in that vehicle. They say one of the people who were in the back seat told investigators that Weber actually shot and killed 27-year-old Bradrick Mike.
How can he shoot anything? He doesn't have he doesn't have fingers to actually, like, what?
Wells. That person also told police that Weber then pulled the car over, asked the 2 remaining passengers who were inside the vehicle at that moment to help him pull Wells's body out of the vehicle. Those 2 people told police, Mugo, they refused to do so and that they then got out of the car and left the scene. They say Weber then drove...
Can you imagine him trying to run them down, being like, stop! And then he gets out of the car, and then he's got to, like, do the waddle thing all the way down the road after them. He tries to shoot a little bit at them. How does he hold the gun?
And that Wells's body was found 2 hours later.
Oh my God.
A resident called 911 to say that they saw what appeared to be a body lying in somebody's yard.
So Weber was eventually found, Mugo, at a nearby hospital in Virginia just a couple of hours later after he was arrested. Investigators also described this as someone who was a gun enthusiast. What
oh my God, they have a video of him. This is literally a torso with little Kirby arms holding a gun like a normal person would hold a gun. He's holding it with one nub, holding it forward, and with the other nub stabilizing it so that he can hold the trigger. It looks like a normal person holding a gun with 2 hands.
look at some of the videos on your screen right now. These are videos
in the description.
that he posted to his personal YouTube channel, which obviously show him loading and firing several shots.
Oh my God, it looks like a baby. It looks like a literal baby is shooting a gun right
From a
there.
handgun, as you see there. Weber was charged with first and second degree murder. As for next steps in this case, he is waiting to be extradited back to Maryland.
All right, Savannah, thank you so much for your...
What a sad end. What a sad end for this gentleman. He deserved to have a better one. That's so... he was a Disney movie. He was a new, like, Radio. You know, Radio, that one movie that Cuba Gooding Jr. is in? Is it Ed Harris or what? Hold on. Radio movie. Hell yes. 2003, the year of our Lord. Cuba Gooding Jr., he played Radio, and Ed Harris, he played Coach Jones. Yes. And oh my God, Alfre Woodard, that one woman, she's a black girl. She's in everything. She's really pretty. She plays his mother. In a racially divided town, Coach Jones spots a mentally disabled African-American student named Radio and near his practice field, and is inspired to befriend him. Soon, Radio is Jones's loyal assistant, and Principal Daniels, she plays the principal, I'm retarded, happily notes that Radio's self-confidence is skyrocketing, but things start to sour when Jones begins taking guff from fans who feel that his devotion to Radio is getting in the way of his team's quest for championship. Man, October 24th, 2003, Radio. How old was Radio when he died? James Radio Kennedy, the South Carolina man whose life inspired the 2003 film Radio, died at 73 on December 15th, 2019. He passed away at a hospice facility in Anderson after a long association with the T.L. Hanna High School football team. It's a great movie. I'm not even gonna lie. Cuba Gooding Jr. gives an Oscar-worthy retard performance, because if you play someone who's mentally disabled and you do it very, very well, I'm sorry, it's a really tough thing to play. It's a really tough thing to pull off. Forrest Gump did it pretty well. Leonardo DiCaprio did it pretty well. I can't think of very many other people. What's his name? Simple Jack from Tropic Thunder. That was another great one. Ben Stiller did it pretty decent. I'm trying to think of other ones, but you get my point. Doordash is rolling out a new app that some workers are worried could be getting paid to train the technology that is going to replace them. AI strategist Alicia Little is going to break it down for us.
Concerns about AI among DoorDash workers. The delivery company is rolling out a new app that will let Dashers train AI to do what they do. Don't worry, we're going to explain. The delivery company released the app called Tasks late last week. It lets Dashers earn money by filming basic everyday tasks like loading a dishwasher, making the bed, or even speaking a different language. The goal is to help improve artificial intelligence in the future.
That's not right.
DoorDash tells ABC News the app gives Dashers a new way to earn on their own terms, but some workers worry they're being paid to train the technology that could eventually replace them. AI strategist Alicia Little joins me now for more on this. Alicia, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate your time. So write this down for us. What exactly
What's going
is this
on?
DoorDash program doing?
Sure. So this DoorDash program is giving Dashers the opportunity to make money by training AI. And what they're actually doing is every time, so they have to wear a camera on their head, and they're washing their dishes. And as they do this, it's recording it, creating this video data for DoorDash that DoorDash is now selling to other companies to train their robots. So, you know,
that's not Christian.
Rosie from the Jetsons, where she was folding laundry and washing dishes. This is the times that we're coming to now.
We're here.
If you're a Jew, if you're a Muslim, if you're Christian, if you're agnostic, if you're pagan, if you're a witch, you all know that this is wrong. Unless you are devoted to the cult of technology, you know this is wrong.
That's right. That is incredible. I remember watching the Jetsons. Oh, the flying cars aren't here yet, though. So, I mean, I guess someone has to train AI, right, to do those domestic things at home. A lot of people are concerned about this. Are those concerns warranted?
Yeah, the concerns are warranted. And my recommendation to Dashers is don't record a video that you wouldn't post on the internet. Because once you record this video, you give it to DoorDash, you get paid for it once, and they use it over and over and over. And who knows how many companies they could sell that data to. So please do not record anything that you wouldn't put on the internet.
Okay,
You think people are going to be
so DoorDash
yanking their
says
jank?
It's creating ways for people to earn more money on top of making deliveries. You mentioned that. So for people who are working as DoorDashers, how can AI help enhance the skills they already have?
Oh, no.
The robots aren't going to drive the cars.
Right.
Yeah, they
get
will.
to our house and make those deliveries.
One day they will.
DoorDashers aren't getting paid right now to wash dishes and come into our house and do that right now.
DoorDash is before 2050 in major cities going to have fleets of AI robots that are going to be capable of either dropping it on the sidewalk for you or leave it, or like having a micro. They're going to have like these pod type car things that are going to roll down city streets. They're not going to look like a normal car, but they're going to be like machine operated, and you're going to know it's a DoorDash pod car, and it's going to roll up to whatever vehicle, and then the side is going to open, and then it's like it's going to roll up to the side where you get a McDonald's order, and then it's going to, and then a humanoid looking robot is going to walk up to the countertop. They're gonna open the door. They're gonna do all of this. It's gonna be heavily articulated, really well engineered Boston Dynamics style technology. And then they are going to pick up your order. They're going to use the perfect amount of pressure on every single finger. You know what I mean? They're not going to crinkle the bag too much because they're going to be training it on years of human data, pounds per pressure, muscle, how much does it flex, how like what amount of work do people put into their touch and all of that sort of stuff. It's going to be really science engineered, all this stuff. And then they're going to take your bag, get back in the pod, the door's going to close, and it's going to be heated in there. It's going to be heated or it's going to be cooled, whatever you want. If it's a hot meal, if it's a hot ramen, they're going to heat it up, and the robot is going to be steaming. It's going to be like 100 degrees in there. And if it's if you got frozen yogurt, it's going to cool down to like a 30. And then they're going to pull the pods up. They're going to open the door to your apartment, your house, whatever you got. The person's gonna walk out, the humanoid. I'm already calling it a person. They're already in my head. And it's gonna walk up to your door, it's gonna drop the food, and then you're gonna go, maybe this isn't so bad. And then its eyes are the camera. You know how the DoorDasher normally they drop the food all timidly at your door, and then they back up, they like look behind them, and then they look back at your food, and they pull up their little faggy phone, and then they go and then they take a picture, they stand there for like 5 seconds, unless it is an Asian or a young gentleman who looks like he's in college. It's always like a young black guy or a young white guy who looks like they need some money for like to go hang out with their buddies. And then they just they take the picture and they run out. You know what I mean? They don't sit there and wait to see if this picture's sent. They don't sit there and do any of that. They just get out of there so that you can be the person that you are, the antisocial person that you are, and you can wait, and then they'll leave, and then you'll go pick up the food. I prefer those people, quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen. Let's cover our final thing. Why not? Let's move on to our final story. I will admit it is optional viewing because we're going to engage in what I will label a bit of goy slop. The Savannah Guthrie interview, ladies and gentlemen. It has been how long since her mother went and, missing, took a walk or something? Over a month, I think. I don't even remember. But apparently she's done an interview now, and let's cover a little bit about it. Why not? Today, oh my goodness, Savannah Guthrie, viewers across the nation, we're having a heartbreaking moment, apparently. Savannah Guthrie broke her 2-month silence in her first sit-down interview since her 84-year-old mother, as we all know, Nancy Guthrie, was abducted from her Arizona home on February 1st. Savannah sat across from her longtime colleague, Hoda Kotb. I don't know. I've never figured out how to pronounce her last name. Hoda. I just always used to call her Hoda because I like that. And she talked about the unbearable agony her family has endured through tears. She talked about the unthinkable terror that keeps her awake in the middle of the night, imagining her mother's final moments in the Tucson house where investigators later found the violent struggle and traces of blood. Interview, which aired the first segment on Wednesday, provided a rare and raw look into the private nightmare behind the headlines. Savannah revealed that she and her siblings initially hoped that her mother had simply suffered a medical injury, but those hopes were shattered when security footage surfaced showing the masked, armed individual on the property, who was probably her brother. I don't know. Let's hear a little bit from her and Hoda.
Take me back to the day. It was, I guess, a normal weekend for you.
Take me back.
Yeah, the weekend your mom went missing. Tell me what what you were doing and what happened.
Well, I'd given Mike for Christmas a boys' trip to go play tennis, and so he had been gone for the weekend. So I took my kids actually to Carson's. So we had a beautiful, fun night together, and then I came home, and really it just got home at the same time that Mike came home, and we were just saying hi, putting down our stuff, and the kids were running around. And my sister called me, and I said, "Is everything okay?" And she said, "No." She said, "Mom's missing." And I said, "What?"
Your sister did it. I'm sorry, Savannah. I've been kind of accusing you half-heartedly a little bit, honestly, like a little bit, because I don't know. There's something about you that just reads as ingenuine, but maybe that's just me. But I'm honest enough to admit that. But I think your sister did it. I think that a lot of people are right when they criticize her and her husband's behavior. You know what I mean? I think that it could be them.
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
She's gone. And she was in a panic. I was in a panic. I'm like, "Call 911. She's like, "I did. We called them. They're here." And we thought that she must have had like some kind of medical episode in the night, and that somehow, the paramedics had come because the back doors were propped open, and that didn't make any sense. We thought maybe they came and there was a stretcher and they took her out the back, but her phone was there and her purse was there and all her things, and it just didn't make any sense. So Annie and Tommy had already called all the hospitals, but then I'm like, I'm going to call the hospital. So then I started calling the hospitals, and the police were there and talking to her at the same time, and it was just chaos.
It sounds like it was a lot. I'm going to go to another clip thing because you're talking a lot.
Abduction, a grief-stricken Savannah Guthrie in her first interview is renewing her desperate plea for Nancy Guthrie's return.
Someone needs to do the right thing.
Your sister.
We are in agony.
I'm sure you are, but your sister's happy.
It is unbearable.
The Today host says she constantly replays the early morning of February 1st, her vulnerable mother alone, a masked intruder at the door.
And to think of what she went through. I wake up every night, in the middle of the night, every night, and in the darkness, I imagine her terror.
Despite thousands of tips and weeks of investigation, there are no new leads. Only these images from Nancy Guthrie's doorbell camera showing the armed man in a mask with a gun, holster, jacket, and backpack.
I think the timing of Savannah's interview is just about right. It's been a while since we've had any sort of public dialogue with law enforcement. I think it's an excellent idea because there's really nothing to lose in doing it. And the potential, obviously, is what you might gain.
A little dignity.
There is no sign of Nancy Guthrie. There are no new clues. A Florida lab is still trying to untangle a mixed DNA sample found at her house. And so far, the painstaking search of Walmart sales records for the owner of that backpack.
It ain't gonna happen. He's long gone. Your mom is long gone. She's like the Epstein victim. She's dissolved in the sulfuric acid, ladies and gentlemen. It's unfortunate, but it's where many of us will go if we ever speak out a little too much. Speaking of which, I should probably cut this broadcast a little short, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so very much for listening. I had a wonderful time collecting these stories for you. I hope you had an even more wonderful time listening to them. In the meantime, this has been Ollie Vogt Larson with Your Brain on Air. We got Monday through Friday. That's our usual schedule. So we got one more episode this week. If you'd like to be there for it, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, like if you liked it, all that jazz, all that typical stuff. But in the meantime, thank you very much for listening to this one individual broadcast. I had a wonderful time. I hope you did too. This has been Ollie Vogt Larson with Your Brain on Air. Thank you so very much for listening. I'll catch you in the next broadcast, and bye-bye.